Athena's Gilded Cage by Zinnia Ravenhouse, Unveiled Bride. Chapter 1. Trent. From aloft the royal balcony, Prince Trent overlooked the many ladies in hourglass gowns and the gentlemen in top hats and canes. Their whistling chatter accompanied the aroma of roasted pine nuts filling the air. To the side of the road, automobiles pulled alongside horse-drawn carriages. At a nearby crossing, a rusted steamer barreled past a handsome carriage. Trent shared a laugh with his father, King Thaddeus, as a spotted mare neighed and bucked at the sputtering engine crossing her path. A short distance from their balcony stood an outdoor theatre with lush red curtains covering the stage. Everyone waited with bated breath as the curtains blocked the upcoming act from curious eyes. The prince's hand lightly tapped a golden sceptre that rested against his chair. The gilded baton lay adorned with steel-grey diamonds fastened around it. Like the sceptre, the balcony shone with glowing stones and metals. Rosewood and fine fabrics gleamed from every corner. Thaddeus's chair creaked as he fidgeted. Grumbling, he spouted, "We've been waiting for a half hour. These jesters better start dancing for their king soon, or I'll serve their belled heads up on spikes." "Father," Trent said with a smirk, "decapitation for tardiness seems like quite the overreaction." A conniving smile played on his lips as the impatient king picked up a playbill and accusingly pointed to accents topping the letters. He scoffed, hitting the page. "Look at this! French covers this whole thing! These Frenchmen should stick to using the language of their host." "No," Trent corrected as he opened his playbill. "These performers aren't French. They come from Chalier." Chalier called France its motherland, just as Brimsfair descended from Britain. The kingdoms shared a well-guarded border. "These performers are Chalierian?" his father asked while curling his lip and holding the playbill at arm's length. The prince nodded and gingerly folded up his playbill, carefully slipping it into his breast pocket. The king lifted his chin and educated. "Don't forget, we were at war with them, and now their clowns are on castle grounds. Those border jumpers disgrace the crown, frolicking on our soil like this." "They're performers, not clowns," Trent argued, rolling his eyes. "And that war happened decades ago. For most people, it's old news." "You should take more stock in our history," his father warned as he crumpled up his playbill and tossed it on the balcony floor. Trent had heard many tales of border war and didn't care to hear another one. He said dully, "I guess those who fail to remember history are doomed to hear repeated war stories." The prince faced his father as the stage curtains finally parted. From the corner of his eye, he caught a flash of orange light, vivid as dawn. As he turned to the light, the vision before him made him pause. The parted curtains revealed a stunning young woman balanced on a trapeze. The woman's striking features looked exquisitely sculpted. Strawberry blonde hair, weaved in spirals of braids, set her frame ablaze. The jewels of her leotard glistened in the sun as she moved effortlessly between poles, sparkling and flying like a shooting star. Murmurs spread throughout the audience at the sight of her. In the civilized world, seeing a lady out of a dress was rare, never mind performing such acrobatics. Trent raised his eyebrows at her revealing attire. The acrobat crescendoed her performance, landing deftly on her feet, perfectly centered on the stage. With heaving breath, she spread her arms wide open, as though preparing to take flight. Her pose and performance excluded the utmost passion for her craft. Cheers, whistles, and catcalls showered her. The gilded castle staff surrounded the royal father and son, standing at attention while the aproned staff served. Leading the gilded men was a tall, strong man of African descent, named Romilly. As Chief Guard Romilly flanked the royal family, awaiting orders. "Romilly!" Trent gestured to the acrobat. "What's that girl's name?" "Athena, my lord," his baritone voice stiffly responded. Thaddeus leered forward, his glare honing in on its prey. His taloned hands clawed into the arms of his chair, as if ready to strike. "Athena, you say?" His eyes glinted with a certain provocative intent. "I dare say I'm impressed, and not just with what she can do on those poles. I might have to put that stamina of hers to the test." "You with all the women," Trent groaned tiresomely. At least your lustful ways escape mother's notice. Trent thought of his mother, Queen Vivian, and his lungs tightened. Thaddeus had long since abandoned his wife, leaving her behind at the castle as he always did. However, due to her senility, his mother no longer recognized her husband. Trent reasoned that a hiccup like that would dampen any relationship and chose to no longer voice his displeasure over it. Thaddeus continued ogling the acrobat while licking his chops. The prince's eyes darted between the young acrobat and the salivating king. Warily, he cautioned, "Slow down a moment. Performer doesn't equal prostitute. Let's see if Athena's love is for sale before you have her sent to your chambers." "Well?" His father sat back and stroked his long beard, discerning his prospects. "A girl who dares to show her legs is inviting a man to part them, and pole-twisting like that shouldn't be seen outside a brothel. She advertises her lack of virtue with this display of hers. I can almost see the price tag for her love hanging off her ridiculous costume. I don't know if her virtue's in question, though I adore seeing pretty girls in pretty dresses. If I could, I'd wrap her up in one, although we can't always get what we want." A wistful sigh escaped Trent. His father chortled. "I wouldn't mind seeing her in nothing at all." "Who would turn that down?" They both heartily laughed. Trent reached for a nearby pitcher to pour himself a drink, but an aproned servant jumped in and did it for him. Briskly, he waved off the assistants. "No, thank you. I can get it myself." "Let the server get it," his father reprimanded him as he snapped his fingers at the servant and pointed to his son's cup. As the cup filled, Trent grumbled. "You must learn to command, to delegate." "Certainly," Trent jeered, folding his arms. "I'll command the servants to wipe me." He flashed a disgruntled look at his server. The servant merely smiled back at the prince as a charming melody greeted their ears. Near the centre of the stage, a pianola intermittently played background music for the show. With impressive confidence, Athena sauntered up to a podium, her lively step highlighting her subtle curves. Even without a corset, the young woman possessed a tiny waist. "Welcome, ladies and gentlemen," Athena addressed the crowd with a slight French accent. A second set of curtains, beige in colour, drew back to reveal two door-sized cabins on either side of the stage. Both structures looked like outhouses, except for the giant levers adorning their fronts. Metallic oversized saucers rested on the top of the cabins, metal rods sticking out of their centres like flower pistils. The saucers pointed at each other like they wanted to talk or play catch. Athena threw her arms back as she presented the cabins. "What you see before you, my friends, is a teleportation device. A device so powerful it can transport a man from one cabin to another in the blink of an eye. Are you ready to witness such an amazing feat? To be a part of history in the making?" As the crowd oohed and ahed, a young man with strawberry blonde hair stepped onto the stage. The man closely resembled Athena in both features and colouring, though he looked a few years older than her and stood nearly a half-foot taller. Athena placed her hand on his back. "This gentleman beside me is my brother, Antoine." Antoine waved to the crowd warmly. "I'm glad to meet you all." "With the help of this device," Athena declared, "my brother will magically transport across the stage." After a final salute to the audience, Antoine stepped into the cabin located on the left side of the stage. Athena walked over to both cabins. "Watch me as I turn on both teleportation devices." She dramatically paused before grabbing the levers and made a show of straining to pull them. A humming sound forebodingly rose from the cabins, like swarms of bees returning to a hive. Suddenly, electric bolts shot between the two saucers, sparking out from their flower-pistoled centres. With each strike of tiny lightning, a thin veil of smoke lingered behind. The acrid scent of burnt metal tinged the air. Trent stood up and trailed his gaze along the machinery with a knitted brow. The crowd murmured at the humming, then startled at the flashing bolts that bathed them in light. After a moment of silence, the cabin on the right side slowly creaked open, and Antoine emerged from it. Gasps rippled through the crowd, a mix of awe and unease settling over them. Athena reclaimed the podium. "The teleportation was a success!" Roars of enthusiasm sounded from the audience. After the crowd settled, she teased, smirking. But how did we accomplish this, you wonder? Was it science? Was it magic? Whispers of sorcery sprinkled the crowd, whilst Trent skeptically eyed the stage and machinery. An understage tunnel was the most likely explanation. However, the underside of the stage was left exposed to audience. Some patrons, wise to optical illusions, walked under the stage and felt around for a glass obstruction. A large, tilted mirror could be used to hide a tunnel from sight. Stillness hung in the air as the cabin door on the left side slowly and eerily creaked open, just as the right one had done seconds earlier. Once more, the crowd gasped, and the original Antoine also emerged. Now, two identical men stood on the stage together. "It was neither science or magic," Athena proudly declared. "It was merely my twin brothers Antoine and André the whole time. Please bow for the crowd." Everyone clapped and cheered. The strawberry blonde men approached the front centre of the stage and took a bow in unison. The secondary beige curtains pulled across the stage, hiding the teleporters from view. The twins then performed more magic tricks, making balls and hoops fly through the air. Athena sat on the side of the stage, watching the magic. With her break in the show, Trent decided to seize the opportunity. Eagerly, he asked, "Romilly, could you please ask Athena if she might join us for a drink?" "Yes, my lord." "Good idea, son," his father gleefully added in. "I can't wait to see that gorgeous body up close." Trent leaned over the balcony railing as he saw Romilly approach Athena. Romilly pointed her to the balcony area, hanging separately from the crowd. Trent's pulse quickened, an unfamiliar thrum of excitement coursing through him. Let 18 be your lucky number. Chapter 2. Trent. As Athena entered the balcony, she wore an infectious smile, and her pale blue eyes seemed to dance. Her presence shined even brighter in person, prompting Trent to beam an unexpected smile at her. The close vantage point also revealed the pale freckles in her porcelain skin. Trent bowed to the lady. "Thank you for agreeing to have a drink with us. Please join my father and me." He gestured to Thaddeus and provided her a nearby seat. Athena curtsied to both the king and the prince by lifting frilled tassels that hung off her leotard. She took her seat and greeted, "Why, thank you, your majesty, my lord." Thaddeus's gaze swept her body before lingering on her chest. "You're welcome, my dear." Athena's smile strained while nodding back at the king's lustful stare. Trent shook his head at his aged father, who blatantly ogled the young lady. Like Trent, Thaddeus was once quite strong and handsome. However, decades of wine and cigars had aged the king beyond his years. A servant handed the young lady a cup, and Athena took a generous sip. With great delight, she asked, "This tastes divine. What is it?" Trent pointed to the label on a nearby bottle. "This vintage is the latest concoction from Nepal." "Well, here's to the Nepalese and their fine concoction," she toasted, raising her glass in the air. "And birthday cheers as well. It seems we share this special day." "Oh? Today is your birthday too?" Trent inquired as he raised his glass to join hers. Scrutinizing her, he paused. "And how old are you? 16? 17? "Well, close," she answered while considering his guesses. "I'm 18 today." "That's a special milestone indeed," he said with a spark in his eyes. "What are the odds I turn 25 the same day? Perhaps the stars conspired to cross our paths on this fateful day," she offered the prince with a playful smirk. Athena downed her drink, spilling a bit on her leotard. Trent pulled out his handkerchief and handed it her. As she accepted, their fingers brushed together and their eyes shared a brief moment. Stifling a chuckle at her clumsiness, his father asked, "So, Athena, did you receive formal education for your English?" "No, your majesty," she uttered flatly and gave another tight smile. "My brothers and I picked it up more on the road." Noticing her discomfort, Trent jumped in. "I found your teleportation magic trick quite captivating." "Oh, yes," she brightened up. "We were able to capitalize on the boys being identical twins. I'm surprised you let your audience in on the secret." "No, we must tell the audience." Her expression darkened briefly, as if reliving the sting of the crowd's jeers. "One town accused us of witchcraft. We figured better tip our hand than get pitchforked by the crowd." "Thank goodness you do the reveal then," he agreed, and then looked thoughtful for a moment. "Also, I must say, the stage fireworks fascinated me. How are they accomplished?" Trent and Athena discussed the mechanics of the light show. When Thaddeus interjected, he's met with polite nods and short responses from Athena. The girl sang with laughter beside his son, prompting Thaddeus's fingers to drum on the arm of his chair. The king's displeasure appeared more evident to Trent than to Athena. Most guests felt obligated to pay reverence to the king. Athena stopped mid-laugh, her expression curious, pointing at the stage. Trent followed her gaze. On the stage, the twins finished their magic tricks as the audience cheered. A goateed stagehand stepped between the paired men and fiddled with some stage equipment, pulling out a long, thin stick. Not knowing what to make of this, Trent shrugged and turned back to the lovely lady at his side. An audience member called out, "Oh, look! Another magic trick!" The crowd murmured with anticipation for the newest part of the performance. As Thaddeus fidgeted, his chair resumed creaking, but the creaking came to a halt as he kicked his discarded playbill. With irritation, he snapped his fingers at a hefty guard named Flint and pointed at the trash. From the stage, a glint of metal caught the light. A dart sliced through the air, its deadly path aimed at the king. Flint jerked up from the king's feet with the crumpled playbill in his hand and a dart sticking squarely out of his neck. His body jerked as the skin surrounding the dart darkened. The guard finally dropped the crumpled playbill and clawed at his throat, struggling to breathe. With eyes wide open, red tears streaked down his cheeks and foamy blood gurgled from his mouth. The guard's limp body dropped on Thaddeus, causing the king's chair to tip backward and slam to the floor. Trent rushed over to help his father. However, Romilly directed the prince to stand safely behind guards and gestured for two of his men to aid the king instead. Next, the chief guard whipped around toward the stage. His eyes surveyed the performers and crowd, his large body simultaneously shielding the king. Toward the back of the audience, some crowd members pointed to the stage. "The dart came from there! The twins tried to kill the king!" Screams erupted as many audience members stampeded away from the theatre. Trent swallowed hard. As two guardsmen lifted Flint's heavy body, the older guardsman on the left sharply cried out and clutched his back in pain. The guards dropped the body back on Thaddeus, causing the king to groan and squirm under the second impact. The prince furrowed his brow as he glanced at the stage where the dart flew from. Through gritted teeth, Trent breathed out, "They'll be tortured to death." Targeting the king came at a height price. He shuddered, imagining the twins' screams of agony, begging for the mercy of a quick death. The prince hesitated, his gaze flicking between the fallen king and the stage. In this brief moment, he could grant those two young men that mercy. "Guards!" he finally barked. "Execute the twins!" "No!" Athena's voice cracked as she screamed, "Don't kill them!" A flash of gold appeared in the outskirts of Trent's vision before a painful blow struck his forehead. Pain radiated over his face. Seconds later, another flash of gold swept in from the side, but before it could connect, he reached out and grabbed the object firmly. He stared at the other end of his gold scepter. Athena's grip was tight, her eyes wide yet fierce as she stared back at him in defiant shock. Without a word, he tugged the weapon towards him. Athena tugged back. As blood trickled down Trent's face, he tightened his grip on his scepter and raised it high in the air with his towering height. Athena's grip remained firm as her knuckles whitened and she was swept upwards, inches from the ground. He tried to violently shake her off, causing her airborne legs to kick out in protest. With a rougher shake from Trent, she finally relinquished her grip, allowing her shoes to meet the floor again. "Please!" she screamed again. "Don't!" Trent slammed his scepter down as blood ran from his forehead into his eye, blurring his vision. When Trent first glimpsed Athena, her beauty had dazzled him. While conversing with her, her wit had charmed him. More than anything, he'd longed to hold and touch her. Yet, she had still attacked him. His anger surged as he wiped the blood from his brow. "Enough!" he yelled. Trent grabbed Athena by the arm while sitting back in his seat. He threw her face down over his lap, leaving her jeweled, subtle figure bent over his thighs. His hand raised high and came back down on her round bottom, striking her once, twice, ringing over the now hushed balcony staff. Athena flinched with each strike of his hand, her legs jolting. Trent grabbed her arms, shaking her. "You will respect your king," he growled and tossed her to the floor. The girl let out a yelp as she landed squarely on her freshly spanked bottom. Trent stood there for a moment, surprised at why he said that. He peered up from the girl on the floor and saw everyone on the balcony staring at them. Athena's breath stilled as her wide eyes took in the stares and the sight of the prince's bloodied face. Trent bitterly shook his head at the girl. Her instinct to fight for her family had left a gruesome mark on royalty. Seeming to realize her egregious error, she suddenly clung to his ankles, begging, "Please spare the boys. They didn't do it. It was Descartes, our stagehand. I saw. He blew the dart." Romilly turned and waved off the fumbling guards. He lifted Flint's body himself and helped Thaddeus into a chair. The king strained to breathe as his legs wobbled. He cradled his injured head as he regarded Athena at his son's feet. Wincing in pain, his gaze turned to the theatre. The stunned twins stood frozen in place while the killer ran, tossing his stick. Crowd members closer to the stage pointed to Descartes. "It was him! He blew a dart from that long stick!" Antoine and André glanced around them, confused as guards encircled them. Descartes dodged through the patrons, pushing them out of the way. He approached the exit to the side of the stage, but he found guards surrounding him. Descartes feverishly dug in his pocket, pulled out a dart, and stabbed himself in the neck. He violently coughed out blood, then fell dead. The guards apprehended and detained all three siblings in the castle's cellar jail,